Hello, welcome to the Craven Chronicles, your go-to podcast to discuss the highs, the lows, and everything in between supporting Fulham FC. I'm joined as ever by Oscar O'Kane. Oscar, you're not in the country right now, whereas we're doing this over Zoom. Do
Yeah.
you want to tell the listeners where you are currently?
I'm in St. Lucia. Yeah, I have properly skived off uni for a week. Yeah, mate, soaking up the sunshine, having some cocktails, enjoying myself. Obviously, still keeping up to date with the football. The good old boy. We're going to dive into it in a second, but the good old boys pulled off a quality result over the weekend. Yeah, mate, it's poor form from me, but I will be back in England on Friday, back for another for the crunch time of uni. But yeah, mate, it's been pretty nice. So I mean, I don't look tanned. I can't tan at all, but it's been relaxing.
Yeah, well, while you're in the sunny shores of St. Lucia, I'm here in rainy old England, and we are going to be discussing lots of things in today's show, actually. We've got that fantastic Newcastle win at St. James's Park to discuss. We're also gonna this bit won't take long. The transfer market, the January transfer window for Fulham. Yeah, a few talking points there. Of course, Willian back at the club. We'll get into that in a bit. We'll be previewing our trip to Wigan in the FA Cup, which should be a fun one. But let's
Mm.
start with Newcastle 1, Fulham 2. What a win. I don't know, I was not expecting that. I did think we always perform better against top half sides, but I was not expecting a win. Oscar, talk to me. What did you make of that?
It was unbelievable. I mean, I checked the updates and I saw that Newcastle were not just winning, but were absolutely battering us in the first half. Tonali hit the crossbar. Guimaraes could have easily scored. I mean, there was a moment, even like Fabian Schär, he sort of played like a 1-2 and he nearly scored as well. And Leno he made a really good save from Livramento as well. But the second half, Marco must have given the team talk of his life because we came out flying out the traps. And what an amazing result. That's the first time that we've done the double on Newcastle since the 2008, 2009 season. It's the first time we've won at St James's in 16 years. So for those travelling Fulham fans who made the arduous long journey up to the northeast, they were well rewarded. What an amazing result. That result has means that we're only 5 points off Newcastle. Can you believe that? So it's so Fulham though, the fact that we can do the double on Newcastle, we can beat these teams, and then we're struggling against the lower sides. But what a win, especially considering
Yeah,
New. I mean, if they'd won that game, Newcastle, they would have been in the top four.
it's almost the reverse Fulham because we conceded first, we're used to scoring first, and then we scored after half time. It's just couldn't quite believe it. But yeah, it was very much, to use the old cliche, a game of two halves. I thought, I don't know, but this is a too simple analysis, but Fulham were poor in the first half, Newcastle were good, and then Fulham were good in the second half. Newcastle were, wouldn't say poor, they had a few chances, but we capitalised. I think it was a deserved 3 points. So I was absolutely delighted. Yeah, a couple of talking points from the game. That Tonali shot, I think the crossbar's still rattling. It was an unbelievable strike. And then Isaac also hit the crossbar towards the end, so we perhaps got away with one there. But I want to talk about the first Newcastle goal.
Yeah.
This worried me a little bit because Timmy Castagna and Joachim Andersen both skinned by Gordon, who then crossed it in for Murphy. I'm
Mm.
a bit concerned about Timmy and Joao. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I thought, well, it's a case of as well. I think Anthony Gordon has just been so good this season. We know of his quality. We know how good of a player he is. But yeah, he did. God, he made Castagne Anderson look weak, really weak defending, really poor. I mean, it was a great cross, but then again, I mean, I also would say no one picking up Murphy at the back post. He had the freedom of the Fulham area. Good finish as well. And up to that point, I think we defended decently well. I think Leonard made a couple of really good saves as well. But yeah, I think I have been defending Jao Joaquim for quite a long time now. And I think even I'm starting to slightly think maybe he should be dropped. Maybe it's time for him to get dropped because it was another sort of pretty mixed performance. I thought Calvin was brilliant, and Anthony Robinson, I mean, say no less. He's always exceptional. But yeah, and especially I think as well, another frustration is with Castagna with that defending is like maybe Tete. should be trying to regain his place. And I think it's fueled more frustration the fact that we didn't get a right back. We knew that Marco desperately wanted one to give that competition. And yeah, I feel like Anderson, maybe he should be dropped for Diop. Maybe that might give him the fuel to try and kick on. Because as we've said before in this podcast, you shouldn't just automatically be handed your place. You've got to earn the right to play. And if you're not turning up and you're not delivering, you don't deserve to be just automatically given a spot in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think that Anderson going straight in for Diop's caused a bit of friction in our podcast relationship a little bit. But yeah, we'll get onto the whole right back thing in the
Mm,
transfer section. But on a more positive note,
yes.
Raul Jimenez then equalised after half time, and I thought this was just capped off a fantastic all-round performance from Raul. Again, we keep saying it, 5 million quid. What a bargain and what a service he's done to the club. He starts off the move by gaining possession, and then it's a lethal counter attack from Fulham. Adama does well, picks out Anthony Robinson, and then a great finish from Raul. And that is Anthony Robinson's 10th assist in the Premier League this season. Only Mo Salah has more assists. He matches the Fulham's record for most assists in the season, which was Mal Bronk with 10. And we're only in
Wow.
February. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy. But I want to talk about Raul. Like, what a man.
What a guy. I love him. I love him so much, honestly. I loved what I loved about that goal. I mean, yes, like it took a deflection. It was a bit in terms of the shot, it was a little bit, he got a bit of luck in his side. But he earned that luck by winning the ball off the opposition, driving up the pitch, playing a really nice pass to Adama. He worked his socks off, and we've got to bear in mind, this isn't like a young Raul Jimenez. He's in his 30s, his mid 30s, and I just loved his. I think the best way I describe Raul is his tenacity, his work rate, his attitude. I never see Raul whinging or moaning or complaining or sort of complaining to other footballers as well. He just gets on with his business, works tirelessly up and down the pitch. And yeah, it took a deflection, but he deserved it. The way he won the ball and started the move. He was my man of the match, of course, but another brilliant, brilliant goal from him. And him and Robinson they have struck a really decent partnership, I have to say, just as a little threat. But Raul, brilliant, brilliant goal, and just totally deserved as well. And I think in that moment we'd had a couple of moments, we'd had a couple of opportunities. So it was a case of second half we'd come out all guns blazing. So the pressure paid off, and Raul, I mean, 5 million, what a bargain.
Unbelievable. And then a couple of Newcastle chances. Willock had that air shot. Got a feel from there, but at our fortune.
Got a
And
bit of
then,
egg in
as
his
I
face.
mentioned, yeah, I mean, I've done that plenty of times. Don't you worry about that. And then Isaac hit the crossbar, as I mentioned at the start. But it was Fulham who got the winner. The two substitutes combining, Andreas Pereira with another set piece assist. Praise the Lord, hallelujah! I can't believe it.
Oh
A
my
great ball in,
God.
and it was our favourite Brazilian, Rodrigo Muniz, with a lovely little flick. Talk me through
Yeah.
that goal and the performances.
Shocking defending, I thought, from Newcastle.
Yeah,
How could Muniz just drift in at the front post there, completely unmarked? Just a little toe poke, lifts it over Dubravka. Fourth goal of the season for Rodrigo, good for him. And yeah, I mean, I looked at Pereira and thought, oh God, is this even gonna? I bet it's gonna hit the wall. Is this gonna beat the first man? But to be fair, to credit to him, he whipped in a delicious ball with pace, and that's the one. I think goalies hate that kind of delivery. In swinger with pace in the my catchphrase, corridor of
yeah.
uncertainty, he said.
I was waiting for that.
Um, and then Rodrigo, it was really, I think the best word to describe it was such an instinctive finish. He didn't really have that much time to think about it. Just got his right foot out, lifted it over the keeper. And I actually thought, was he, and I remember looking at it going, wait, was he offside? I thought maybe there'd be a line going up just because I couldn't believe how much space he had and no Newcastle defender was anywhere near him. But credit to the boys. And actually, I would say, based on defensive performance and attacking display, we deserve the 3 points. And I'm delighted. I think it's a really, really important result. I think if we'd lost that game, definitely could have been a nail in the coffin. I also, with Bournemouth losing to high flying Liverpool, of course, I think it gets us back in the driver's seat. And then obviously later that day, Wolves beat Villa 2-0. So Fulham, that result in the context of our season, that we could look back on that and say huge result. But really delighted for Muniz. But one thing I wanted to say to you as well is obviously that is his fourth goal of the season, but that has come in his 23rd game. And I know that he hasn't started a lot of these games and he's come off the bench, but I do. I mean, obviously we do love Rodrigo and he has been brilliant. But do we think as well that they're? I just think 4 in 23 isn't good enough. As much as I love him to pieces, and that Chelsea goal will live long in my memory, and scoring against Newcastle and did a brilliant shift. We just need a little bit more, don't we? I personally think that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because I was going to say actually he scored 4 goals, but they've come against this is bizarre, come against City away, Liverpool away,
Hmm.
Chelsea away, and
You,
Newcastle away. What I mean, like he's a big game player, and I would say as well he's only made 5 starts this season, 3 of them coming in the opening 3 games, so he hasn't been getting the nod. I don't mind him as a number two, to be
I
honest. I agree that as a striker, those numbers still aren't good enough. But I think as a number two, I don't mind him. I think he causes chaos off the bench, and at the moment, I'm happy with Raul as the number one. He's performing, so if he can come
don't.
off the bench and do that,
It's like he's like the Ashley Barnes to Sean Dyche Burnley's Chris Wood. Do you know what I mean? He's just the sort
oh
of
my God, what
second in
a
command.
comparison! Oh my Lord.
Hey, it's true though. It's true. He's like he is the Ashley Barnes of the Fulham FC team. Like he's not really starting, but he'll come off the bench and he'll just nick a goal. Do you know what I mean? My brain just went. That's the best analogy I can think of when I describe Rodrigo because he is. I mean, as I said, I can't believe that he is scored in the against the best defenses. So. I mean, look, hey, Rodrigo, keep it up, son. Keep it up. We've got more big games coming up, so let's hope he keeps on delivering for us. But John, just a quick one as well. Just as I mentioned with Bournemouth and Villa losing, the teams in and around us fighting. Do you think we could? This could be a result we look back on. Let's say if we do get Conference League and we go, that was absolutely huge, especially in the context of what happened the week before as well.
100%. I mean, looking at the table now, we're ninth, 1 point behind Villa in eighth. It's just unbelievable. But that actually tees up some stats I've got. I kind of mentioned it in the United review, but it's just so typical when we're playing teams who are currently above us in the table versus teams currently below us. We've actually played 10 games against teams above us and got 19 points, and we played 14 against teams currently below us and got 20 points. So
Mm.
only 1 point difference in fewer games, which just it just sums up our season. We can beat sides like Newcastle away, but then we struggle to kind of break down sides like your Southamptons and your West Ham. So yeah, but if we do, I think we in the whole European debate, I think we will be in and around it come the end of the season. We'll be in and around it, and if we do sneak in, then yeah, 100%. This win we could look back on and be yeah, that was fantastic. A couple of positives and negatives, just to quickly run through and see if you agree with any. I thought positives: Bassi and Berger solid. Robinson 10 assists. Rao was obviously we mentioned Rao. Adama taking his opportunity in the starting 11. Better from AP off the bench, and then negatives. I've got Anderson and Castagna. Iwobi, only 2 out of 9 crosses completed, which is not
Mm.
great. And then a negative, inconsistent results, as I mentioned. Is there anything you want to touch on there you agree or disagree with?
No, I agree with a lot of you said. It's just so I think the reason we do so well against the teams if in the quote unquote brackets top six, although Man United and Spurs have failed to live up to that bill this season, is because those kind of oppositions they want to go for it. They want to absolutely attack us, and I think that they play slightly into our hands. I think we're one of the best sides in the league at when teams go full throttle at us. The way that we counter is exceptional, and I just think that and Marco historically, I think in his managerial career the way he sets his teams up, that's always been the case, whether he was at Hull City or whether he was at Olympiacos or Watford or Everton. He sets them up to try and get the opposition to really go full throttle. But then you counter with strong holding midfielders, pacey wingers, a kind of target man kind of striker, and that's what he's done so successfully for us. But the problem is when teams sit back and have the low block and defend, we haven't been able to find the answers this season. And I think, look, moving forward, that's something that's got to be rectified if we want to become a sort of serious, if we want to become like the Brightons of the world, where we're looking more upwards than downwards when we look ahead to our Premier League season. Because I mean, I don't want to speak too soon. And of course, look, in 10, 15 years, we could get relegated again. You know, that's obviously that could be highly likely. But we're a club, I think now we should be looking upwards. We shouldn't be worried about relegation scraps. I think we have a great manager, a great squad that just needs a little bit more tinkering, maybe a few little additions that Marco needs to help us break down these kind of teams. I think sometimes in our squad depth in the attacking area has meant that we haven't been able to beat the teams lower down. I mean, the fact that, as we've said, we haven't beaten Ipswich this season, not good enough. The fact that so far we haven't beaten Southampton this season, not good enough either. So it is frustrating, but it is really nice to see that we can really hold our own against the big boys and cause a bit of a stir, and especially a Newcastle side that has arguably what probably the best striker in the league and certainly one of the best midfields in the league.
That's a really good point, actually, yeah, about the an explanation why we were better against the bigger boys. I think, yeah, we saw against with that Jimenez goal how good we are on the counter attack. So yeah, 100%. Um, let's talk about the the January transfer window. Marco said he wanted to sign a right back because Kenny Tete's out for a while, but only got Castagna at right back, and he's struggling a bit. I think he needs some competition there. He said he wanted a forward player, and we're
Yeah.
thinking as fans, we're thinking maybe a striker to really kind of make a statement, maybe another extra number eight in there.
Yep.
But no, we we end up signing Willian. He's home, our
Yeah.
Brazilian beauty.
Guess who's
I've got to
back?
say,
Back
guess
again.
who's back? I right in isolation, I am absolutely buzzing. Willian's back at the cottage where he belongs.
Yep.
But in the wider in the wider scheme of things, I'm a bit disappointed at the window. Take it away.
I've got to say, so I was looking at the transfer deadline day, and I was a bit sort of like, we're not even like linked with anyone. You know the way you head into deadline day and you're thinking, oh, there's a couple of players we might be getting, or who are we linked to? And I saw like, and we were talked about this last week, like that link with that Serbian Jovanovic bloke, that
Hmm.
striker from St Johnston, and then there was Zeki Celik, which I think was one of the ones that we were looking at. I actually would have rated Celik because he can play right back and left back, and he's kind of been a bit part player in the new Roma team under Claudio Ranieri, obviously our former manager Claudio Ranieri. But yeah, I said to my dad, and then Fabrizio pops up, Willian, sort of close to agreeing Fulham move, and I said to my dad, "Oh my God, we're signing someone." He said, "Oh, who is it?" He was really excited, and I was like, "You never guess. Just think, we're such an ambitious, forward-thinking football club. Who do you think we brought in?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." And he was, and I said, "We brought Willian in." And he went, "No, you what? You're joking. You're
You're
joking." I
joking.
said, I'm not joking. 36-year-old Willian has come back. Now, to be fair, when Willian was at Fulham, he was class. I don't care what anyone says. He was so good. Marco got the real best of it. He got I mean, 9 goals for Fulham for a 34-year-old playing in that kind of Fulham team where it's high intensity is pretty impressive. And actually the our next game in the Premier League is Nottingham Forest at home, and I fondly remember Willian absolutely sitting down Renan Lodi and sticking it in the top corner. So look, hopefully he does that again when we play Forest in a few weeks' time. But I'm happy with the signing, but it's a bit of a like, there's no. I mean, I loved your tweet. The tweet that you did on Twitter just summed it up perfectly. But there's just such a lack of ambition. The fact that we've re-signed Willian, like, come on, we could have tried to think a little bit outside of the box, really.
Yeah, I think this is so like Tony Khan and his gang. I think we've mentioned before they've got the transfers pretty good in recent years. But what they do is they leave it very late to get the best possible deal. But then we've seen the downfall of it in this window. We leave that Celik fella. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but
Mm.
and then it's just so it's leave it too late, and then he that falls through, and then it's like, oh, who do we get now? I saw I don't know how reliable this source is, but I saw we tried to put a bid for Sufal from West Ham. It's like, oh my God, that sums up how desperate we were. But, like, I just
Tufa.
think it's.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
he's
the West Ham fella. Yeah, he's
way
shocking.
past it. How old is
Yeah,
he?
I know.
33. I mean, that is like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But also, I mean, actually, well, another thing I would say with the Willian situation though as well is that Marco wanted him back. He wanted him in the
Yes,
summer.
very good point.
So he did. So if Marco wants him, then I guess it's quite difficult for us as fans. He knows what's best for the club on the pitch. It's quite difficult for his fans to go, what is he doing? But we know that. I mean, it was pretty evident because he said it in press conferences that he wanted to sign Willian in the summer. We didn't get him. He decided to do Olympiacos didn't really kind of work out for him. So I guess to be able to bring him bring him back into the club. And Marco does want him. And he also, the nice thing is that we're signing a player that we know, we're familiarized with, we know his game plan. He knows the Fulham team. He's still friends with everyone. He knows the atmosphere. He also he also comes in and it doesn't need like 2, 3, or 4 weeks to get adjusted. He knows exactly the style of football that we play. And sentimentally wise, it'd be nice to see him come back to the club donning the number 20 with that afro. I mean, and on his day, Willian, some of the skills that he'd do were silly, silly good. He'd make very good defenders look sort of national, sort of kind of like National League level, really. So, look, if Marco thinks that Willian is the right thing to do, then I guess how can we really criticize him or criticize the club's
Yeah.
recruitment?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely buzzing with the signing. I think it's very low risk as well. It's a free transfer. Yeah, as you said, like he knows everyone, and also I think what shouldn't be undervalued is his impact on the dressing room. Because you saw Tom Kenny on I think Monday Night Football,
That's right.
yeah, where he was saying Willian's easy the best player he's ever played with. So I think that shouldn't be underestimated. Like, and then the Brazilian lads look up to him. I think he's a good role model for Rodrigo.
Mm.
And also Samba Whites, come on, just the vibes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And we need backup in the that ball position. So yeah, I think why not? But I just think it's just in the context of signing no one else. It's just a bit like ugh. But
yeah.
yeah, lack of ambition,
But
as you said.
my only question mark is he's a year older. So
36 for
has
a
he
winger
still
is
that's exactly what I mean. Has he still got it? Has he still got
yeah,
Willian that we know? I mean, I'm not there's no denying he's a top football player, but we had Willian 2 years ago, and 2 years ago he's a bit younger,
yeah.
maybe 36-year-old Willian, I don't know. But and also I saw he was at the Chelsea West Ham game, so no, I'm not going to say anything about that. That's what he can do what he wants. But yeah, I think look, it's just for me, it's frustrating because it's a signing that lacks forward thinking. It's playing the safe card.
Mm.
It's like playing a game of poker and you just like fold on the first hand. It's like, well, you're just playing it safe. Like you'd rather, I think sometimes in the recruitment you need to risk it. But then again, maybe Fulham are saving themselves for a really big summer window, which I'm really hoping for. I mean, a lot of clubs haven't. I mean, we know Man City have absolutely splashed the cash, but a lot of clubs have kind of resisted this window in terms of making marquee signings. So I don't know. Maybe from a financial perspective as well, the move makes sense. And as you said, free agent. So in retrospect, if it doesn't quite work out, Fulham haven't missed out on too much.
Exactly. And if unless there's anything else you want to add on that, we can move on to the game happening this Sunday,
Big
which
time.
is
The Anthony
Wigan
Robinson
away.
derby, mate. Mate, it's
The
the Anthony
anti-Robinson derby. I
derby.
like that. The
Yeah.
Marshall Goddo derby, if you want to be slightly more niche.
The Hugo
Yeah, it was.
Jaeger derby.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Oh
go.
no, we'll end it there.
I'm not gonna lie, I was struggling to think of any more, so I'm glad you
Yeah,
said
no,
that.
honestly, I said that when I was like, is there any other? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But look, it is Wigan away in the FA Cup fourth round. I was very happy with this draw. We knew we were going to play Wigan or Mansfield, and controversially, I think Wigan's the easier draw, even though they're in a hard position because they're kind of like dwindling in League One, whereas Mansfield they're kind of doing quite well
Hmm.
lower down, so that I think they'd be more up for it. I don't know if that's just I don't know my fan head on there, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a very winnable game. Happy with the draw. How do you think? Well, I think the most interesting question is how do you think we'll approach this? Will Marco rotate a lot? We do have a week to prepare for it. It's not as if it's congesting the fixture list. Yeah, what would you do, and what do you think Marco would do?
I think well, what I would do is I'd rest a few players. I wouldn't. completely chop and change the whole starting 11. But as you mentioned, I'd like to see Godo get a chance. I'd like to see Ryan Sessegnon get a chance. I'd like to see Cuenca make an appearance. I'd like to see, well, actually, yeah, no, I want to see Stephen Bender make an appearance. But
Oh,
um, I just think these are the kind of, this is early round. This is Wigan. Come on. I mean, look, I'll have egg. If we get knocked out, I'll have real egg on my face. But it is Wigan. This is a team we should be comfortably beating, even if we play a third field string team. So I think it's important, and it's also important as well, considering that we have a huge game against Forest at home the following week. I feel like it's quite important to rest a couple of the key players. So that's what I do. I don't think he actually will do that. I think he'll make one or two or three adjustments, but I don't think he's going to make wholesale changes. I don't think he's going to do six or
mm.
seven changes to the team, which is completely fair enough. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, I think also another thing as well, Wigan are managed by Sean Maloney. Do you remember him in the Premier
Oh,
League?
yeah. Sean Maloney. Oh my
Barclays
God.
Heritage. Yeah, good old
Yes.
Sean Maloney. I remember he put in an unbelievable performance in the FA Cup final when they won it in 2000. Do
Yes, that's right. What old Watson?
you know what? That when Wigan won the FA
100%.
Cup, that was a moment. That was unbelievable. Do you remember? I couldn't believe when Ben Watson
Unbelievable.
scored, and I think they got relegated
Yes.
that season. So
Yeah, yeah.
surely,
Championship team playing European football the next
yeah,
season.
you'd need a Chelsea
Unbelievable.
side squad to deal with that one. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
uh,
On the team. Sorry, go on.
yeah. No. I just think you're right. You're completely right about Wigan. They're floundering in League One, and come on, this is an opportunity for a couple of our youngsters to step up and put in a really good performance for our travelling away fans because it's a bit of a journey up to Wigan. It's a
Yeah,
long
a
journey.
little bit. But yeah, I think I want to see lots of rotation. And the thing is, with the rotated players, they're still first team players. They're still players that could stake their claim in the starting 11 against Forest. So we have a full week to prepare for the Forest game. So you know, the likes of Moon is starting, for example. Like he could earn himself a start. So what I'd do is I think you gotta give Bender some minutes. Reluctantly. I think it's good if you could. Um I would I'd be inclined to play Robinson still, but I wouldn't mind him being dropped for Sessegnon. But I want to see Sessegnon start on the wing,
Do you think
on the
Robinson?
left wing.
Think Robinson will get booed? Could do. You don't know. Former
Nah,
player.
surely not.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, can I say though, I cannot believe that we signed him from Wigan for
2 mil was it?
2 million. What a
Oh,
steal!
I wonder if they've got a sell-on clause, Wigan. I wonder if they
They,
have one for him.
they may have done. I mean, to be fair, the club that should be kicking themselves really is Everton. They let him go. He was in there under 21.
Yeah.
Let him go.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's gonna go for. I think he will go, and he's gonna go for a few quid. So if Wigan do have some sort of clause in that, there'll be it's a
They'll be
much
chuffed.
needed cash injection for them.
Big
But
time.
yeah, it's centre backs. I think we want to see Cuenca, Diop. We want to see Harrison Reed get some minutes.
Big time.
Josh King, Muniz, as I said, Cess, maybe Goddo, potentially. This is a really good opportunity to, and as I said as well, because this game isn't midweek, it's not much congestion, so I think it's a really good opportunity to use a squad kind of risk free.
Would you put Sessegnon left wing and would you put Godo right wing? How would you go about doing that? Because I think
Mm,
they're both left
good
wingers
question, yeah.
mainly. So I wanted you to be honest with you, John. I actually think he might drop Robinson for this one. I think he might put Sessegnon left back and just maybe put Godo.
Goddo left wing.
I think he might do that because, and also Robinson, he's played. I feel like he plays every game. He plays every single
Yeah.
game. So he does at some point he does need a bit of a rest. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, obviously I trust Marco. I'm sure he's going to make the right decision. Score predictions. I will be unhappy if it's less than 3-0. We have surely we I mean, I know it's an FA Cup. I
Yeah.
know they'll be up for it. I get that, but we've got to turn them over because I'd be more worried if they were League One, top of the table, playoff chasing in a good run of form. I'd be a bit more worried, but they're not. You're right. They're sort of 17th, 18th, 19th in the table and haven't really got anything to look forward to this season. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I want to see more than lots of goals. I want to see a clean sheet. I want to see just a nice. solid, comfortable afternoon for the players and the fans. You're looking at the table, yeah, they're 16th in League One. It's just like quite uninspiring, not great form, very inconsistent. So yeah, I'll go for a nice, comfortable 2-0 win to the Whites.
And also as well, their best player, Alsgaard, he's left. He's gone to Luton. So I was thinking, who's their danger man? And he was their sort of star man. But he's just gone to Luton in this January window. So I'm now thinking, I'm not that concerned. So we'll see. But in the FA Cup on whole, I'm hoping it'll be a big win. And also, it's quite an interesting round. There's a couple of tasty fixtures in there. United have got Leicester. I think Brighton and Villa are playing each other as well. Oh no, Tottenham and Villa are playing each other, and Brighton as well. So a couple of these other clubs that we would be competing for will get knocked out. And as the rounds progress, I'm hoping that Fulham could try and push for a quarter final. Fingers crossed, a semi final, because that would be a brilliant day out at Wembley if possible.
Yeah. Yeah, just to wrap up on the on this FA Cup preview. Just looking at Fulham's results in the FA Cup. So obviously we made that infamous quarter final against United a couple of years ago. The head loss game. I don't think I've actually recovered from that.
No,
My head is still is orbiting the stratosphere still from that game.
it's also because they
But
were such
then,
a bad United team as well. That's what made
oh
it
my God,
frustrating.
we love losing against a terrible United side. But the reason I mention that is because we made the quarterfinals. And the last time we made the quarterfinals since then was 2009-10 season, where we lost to Tottenham. So I mean, yeah, it's disappointing because I love the FA Cup, and I
Mm.
think if you're a Fulham fan, like okay, we might make Europe this year, but I mean, a cup run is probably our best bet of some glory and a day out at Wembley and all that. So I think we should be attacking this and going for it.
And I also think as well, this is the best Fulham team that we've had since that team that got to the 2010 Europa League final. In my opinion, I think this is a serious team now. Really, really good. Good across all areas of the pitch. I mean, in the teams we've had in the past, under has to be mentioned, good old Scotty P. Um,
Here he is.
there were gaps and weaknesses and holes everywhere across the team. I look at this team now and I think really solid. Maybe one or two players in the attacking positions need strengthening, especially with Wilson now injured, but obviously with Willian coming in. But yeah, I agree with you. An FA Cup, we haven't won a major trophy ever. The FA Cup is the most historic trophy in world football, and I would love it if Fulham. I mean, look, we might get to the final, we might get a Liverpool, we might lose, but just to get there, just be putting Fulham's name a little bit more on the map as well. Because you'd watch that game and go, "Who's playing in the FA Cup final? Oh, Fulham are in the final. Oh, that's Then the club will get a little bit more traction. Maybe other players will think, "Oh, that's quite impressive that Fulham went on that run." So it'll be good for our long-term prospects as well. But I would love nothing more than a day, like a semi-final day out at Wembley. And realistically, I'd go into it thinking I back the boys because I really think that, and as we mentioned, we can do it against the big guns. I'd actually probably rather have like Newcastle in the semi-final than like I don't know Ipswich. I just feel like for some weird reason it could be a frustrating afternoon. But yeah, I really think that we were unlucky against Man United, as you mentioned, a horror show. Didn't want to. Pete basically got trauma after that, practically, and we've had our cut runs, but I think we've really got to now. I'd like us to go one further this year because I think this is we've got the best squad. I think that the squad that we have now is much better than the squad that beat Man United that failed to beat Man United in that quarterfinal defeat. So I think the boys should just give it their absolute all. That wraps up our episode of Craven Chronicles Pod. John, thank you so much as ever for hopping on, especially as I had skied off to St. Lucia for a week as well. So thanks so much for doing this.
No problem, mate. Always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your holidays and back in the studio next week.
Next week, we will be reviewing our Wigan Athletic trip, the Anthony Robinson Hugo Rodallega derby. We'll be previewing a monster game on the weekend at home to Nottingham Forest. Can Willian come back and show his former heroics in this same fixture a year before? And we'll be joined by a very surprise guest. So tune in to wait in here and find out. Make sure you give us a like and a follow and subscribe. And as always, up the Fulham.